Hello. Happy Jaws anniversary day. I seriously have been thinking about this day for like all year long. I'm so because I love Jaws and I was like, I gotta plan some fun stuff. And the 50th anniversary is on a Friday. So here we are. Jaws has turned 50. I'm so pumped. Um, yeah, I love Jaws. My water. This is my water that I have normally with me. It just happens to be extremely relevant today. So, yeah, happy 50th Jaws. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I have been so focused on getting my video out that, like, I didn't really prepare anything, like, specific to say, which is a first for me for one of these, but I do have lots of fun pictures we can talk about. um, the past few weeks, I've been spending a lot of time researching the history of, like the making of Jaws, also watching clips from it. So I've been like really deeply ingrained in this movie, and I've seen it so many times. Like, it's since really the pandemic, I just felt like, because my 4th of July movie used to be Independence Day, but I haven't been feeling so patriotic of late, and I'm like, Jaws is still a 4th of July movie, but it's more like cynical, and that's more how I'm feeling. So it's kind of taken my Independence Day, 4th of July movie spot for me. So I've seen it a lot in the last few years, and I mean, I just like sharks as well. Um, and I've been watching like Shark Week as long as I can, remember trying to, decide what to watch at any given moment. Anyway, so I love sharks. If you can't tell, like, where's everybody? Oh, there's too many guys. They don't all fit. And then tomorrow, just as a heads up, I'll be working on this Lego. I will not be finishing it. I am a slow Lego builder. But that's okay. I enjoy the process, and I'll probably share more stuff about Jaws that I didn't share today. So, anyway, it's Jaws time. Yeah. Let's look at what I have. So, I love Jaws. I don't know why I was like, this would be a good picture to start with it, because it's like the end. So, spoilers, I guess, for this now 50-year-old film. So, just be aware that I will be talking extensively about the story. Oh, I've also read the book now. So, last month, I was listening to the audiobook, mostly because I was curious, like, what the differences were. And the whole time I was listening, I was like, thank goodness they made some of these changes. Oh, you know what? Is my stream, like, no? Oh, it is over. Hello, I'm doing good. Don't mind me. I'm gonna adjust something. Okay. I'm doing so good. How are you? I'm living my Jaws life and loving Jaws because I love this movie. Um, so today's a good day. Jaws is 50. Life is good. Okay, I'm just feeling a little nervous because I was messing with the camera. Anyway, everything's fine now. Okay. Okay. I'm just like trying to make sure everything looks okay. It's Friday, just turned 50 today. It's the first day of summer, even though I kind of hate summer, but whatever. I like Jaws. I think of Jaws as in summer, interconnectedly. Um, the AC is working. I don't have to worry about the air conditioning stopping while I'm streaming. Life's good. So I was talking about the book. So I read the book of Jaws in the last month or so for the first time. And it was interesting reading it because I was like, there are a lot of similarities. I would say the first like third of it is almost exactly the same. And then it kind of splits and then comes back at the end. Because basically what happens is there's this part in the middle. And this is the part of the book that I didn't like. And I'll talk about this a little bit. I'm sure at some point. But like, it was interesting because a lot of the middle of the book was, for some reason, Chief Brody's wife. Do I have any pictures of her? I feel like I must. Don't mind me. Maybe not. I have so many pictures of the behind the scenes because that's what I've been. Oh, here she is. She, in the book, has an affair with what's his name? The oceanographer guy. And that's like a good chunk of the middle of the book. They like stop all the shark stuff to like deal with that for some reason. I'm like, it just halts this, it just grinds the story to a halt, like completely. And so I'm so glad they cut that out. This movie is so well paced. Like it just, especially, I think the beginning, I love the end for the adventure, all that jazz. But the first like half on land is just so perfect, I think. And obviously the ending, of course, as we all know, a lot of it was affected by how it was being filmed, and so they were kind of just trying to make things work and all this stuff. And I get that. But the beginning is just like perfect. And I mean, I love this movie, so I think it's all really great. So I'm glad that they cut that. And everybody in the book is kind of just insufferable. One characterization I really liked that they swapped was in the book, Brody is actually a local to the town, which you would think wouldn't change it that much, but his kind of fear of the ocean plays such a big part of the movie. And I mean, he probably should be. This still always gets me because he's so calm. He's so like, everything's fine. No biggie. Everything's cool. And then there's just like a shark behind him. I think his characterization of being afraid of the ocean because he's not from the town makes so much sense. And him being an outsider, I think, really makes him wanting to close the beaches a lot more interesting because everybody's like, are you dumb? You're not from here. Closing the beaches is going to shut us down, and all this stuff. And that whole small town political intrigue is really interesting. And what's funny too is the mayor in the book, he is like in with the mafia. Like he's in trouble with the mafia. And the end of the book, we don't really know in the movie what he ends up doing, but in the book, he like runs away because he's trying to run away from the mafia. And I think in the movie, his motivation just being like, oh, I want to keep the beaches open because it makes people like me, and I'm trying, to keep the economy going and all this stuff makes, like, that's motivation enough, I think. So I'm glad that they changed that too. Well, I picked these pictures for a reason. Let's just start with the first one. So, what's cool about Jaws 2 is not only is it a really good movie, it's a really interesting piece of like film history because it was really the first blockbuster as we know it today. Like back in the day, um blockbusters weren't a thing. And the way that they released movies was kind of on like a rolling schedule, and like things would go to different cities and you would only release in like so many theaters at once, which sounds so crazy to people now because most movies get a wide release, like especially big movies are like, okay, we're going to release in as many theaters as possible opening weekend. And because of that, movies now are so focused on like opening weekend box office results. Like it wasn't like back then it wasn't as important for you to make all your money back in the first weekend. It always seems like, oh well, this movie bombed because it only made this much money in the first weekend. And sometimes movies have like a long life. Like my theater is still showing Sinners, and that came out like 2 months ago, which is crazy. And it's been doing so well. And um that movie was a wide release, of course, because most movies are. But back in the day, that was not the case. Things would like roll out slowly and in different places, so it was never showing everywhere all at once, if that makes sense. But Jaws, I guess the story goes that the test screenings went so well that they were like, because of the time of year it is, because, it came out June 20th today, you know, 2 weeks exactly before the 4th of July. This is, it's, a 4th of July movie. We have to get this, and people were already talking about it. They were obsessed with it, and like, they hadn't seen it because they'd been advertising it on TV, which was also unusual too. So they were advertising it on TV, doing a wide release, and all these things, put together made Jaws the highest grossing movie that year, and I think of all time at that point. And it just totally took over everything. Everybody was talking about it, and people still are talking about it. I think the reason it's had such staying power is because it's such a good movie. I mean, it also did well at the box office and all this stuff, but many movies now, they can find their audience later. Like The Thing was a box office bomb. Blade Runner was a box office bomb. So like, just because your movie doesn't do well doesn't mean that people aren't going to like it later. And then the reverse is also true. If your movie does do well, that doesn't mean people will always be talking about it. I know people have used Avatar as an example occasionally, but I feel like, I don't know, I hear people talking about Avatar, the film, the Blue People one, not the TV show. And definitely not the terrible film. Anyway, yeah. And also, I think George Lucas really saw Jaws and was like, "Oh, we can." And I think I don't have the research to back this up because I haven't looked into it that close. But in my head, I think that the reason that Star Wars did so well too was because George Lucas and Steven Spielberg are friends. Saw how well Jaws did and was like, okay, we need to do merchandise, because Jaws also did merchandise. That was not really a thing either for movies. They were, that we see that all over the place, everywhere, all the time, but that wasn't the norm. And so George Lucas kind of took it to the next level, and Star Wars, took over everything. And again, I think the reason it has such staying power is because it's a good movie, blah, blah, blah. But like now every big movie does that. Like literally yesterday, My husband and I went to Little Caesars just to get pizza. And there was a Fantastic Four pizza, what's it called? Deal to advertise for the movie coming out a month from now. I don't even think it comes out until late July. And, we just see that all over the place. Like, promotion, thank you. Um, also, I think Dr. Pepper is doing a deal with um, the new Jurassic World movie, and they have like dinosaurs on different Dr. Peppers, and I haven't seen a Superman one. I'm sure there's some kind of tie-in like that for Superman, because we have all these big, huge summer movies coming out next month, and um, I don't know. It's just interesting because I think of in my head the first time I ever remember that happening was like with Phantom Menace. And I just remember getting a toy from some fast food company that had it was like a little ball thing that um you would like press a button and the guys would like fight each other. Anyway, it was really cool. But I had just never interacted. But I was also like, when did Phantom Menace come out? 99. I was 3. um yeah, I would have been 3, huh? Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that now, and it's just kind of the norm, but that wasn't always the case. And I think it's cool that Jaws just so happens to have been that movie, and it's a shark movie. Um, I do think it's funny. I always think of this when I watch the movie. They're like talking about how the shark is a male shark, and they talk about that in the book too. In real life, great whites, the bigger ones are the females. That's just how it is. They're the bigger ones. They grow bigger. The biggest great white shark in the world is a female. Like the highest, not the highest, the biggest reported shark, great white, is a female. So it's just funny to me that there was like this male shark, he is out to get us. I'm like, in real life, that is not how that would go. um, and I do want to talk about too. I feel like we kind of take early Steven Spielberg's work for granted a little bit, because we know, like, he ever since Jaws, he's basically been able to do whatever he wants, which is thank goodness for that. I still have a lot of his filmography to watch. Like, I haven't seen Schindler's List. I haven't seen Saving Private Ryan. I have this big gap from like the 80s to the early 2000s, and then I kind of like I've seen all his most recent stuff, like Ready Player One and The Post and The Fablemans, which I really enjoyed. The Fablemans. It was funny. This is a side tangent. I was reading his Wikipedia page while I was researching for Jaws, just to get some contextual information, and I was kind of dying because I'm just reading like his background, and I'm like, this is exactly like the plot of The Fablemans. And it took me a second to remember that, oh yeah, The Fablemans is basically a movie about his life growing up. It's like, oh duh, of course it's the same. I just kind of had forgotten that. So anyway, highly recommend that if you haven't seen it. Anyway, there's so much that he does with the camera specifically that I just love. And we all know and love this famous dolly zoom here, which is done by, fun fact. So what you do is you take your camera and you move it. Hold on. I'm like trying to picture this in my head. You're like zooming in while you're moving back. I think and that's why it's called a dolly zoom, because you've got your camera on a dolly, which is basically like rails that you can put your camera on. You're moving it back while you're zooming. Another famous one I can think of is like there's that scene in Lord of the Rings where Frodo is like looking down the path, and you can kind of hear the What are they called? The Ring Wraith? Yeah, Scream. And he's like, get off the road! Another film I've seen many, many times. I think I've seen Fellowship probably more than this movie. um anyway, it's a really cool move. It's very dramatic. And I think it's used really well here because this is the first time, our Chief Brody's our point of view character, and this is the first time he's ever seen the shark, and he's terrified of the ocean, and like already without the shark part, which I think is a valid fear. I'm also kind of terrified of the ocean, ironically enough, not of sharks specifically, but just like there's so much we don't know about the ocean. We know way more about space than we do about our own oceans, because space is easier to learn about than our own oceans. So anyway, I'm just thinking about that Titan documentary. I watched the Max one. I haven't seen the Netflix one, but you cannot pay me money to go down and see the Titanic, let alone have me pay you money to take me to see the Titanic. No, I am too afraid of the ocean to be doing something like that. Anyway, James Cameron, I don't know how he does it, all these dives and stuff. He's like fearless. Anyway, not only, getting back to what I was talking about, not only is Steven Spielberg famous for this shot, I also think there's this great video essay, I need to find it, about the oneers that he does. And I feel like we don't talk about them a lot because they're not flashy and they don't call attention to themselves. And there's so many great ones in this film. Like there's the one, I don't think I have a picture for this. Let me see. I'll just pull up a picture. I wonder if I play the video and don't play the audio, if I'll be okay. Because I've gotten in trouble in streams before where I play a video and it like got my stream taken down. But if I don't play the audio, it's fine. I'm just showing something, okay, YouTube? What's it called? Fairy Jaws. Because this is the first one I can think of. Okay, the sound is off, YouTube. But like, watch this. Because this is all one shot. So they put the car onto the ferry and then they're talking, and his blocking, oh my gosh, I know that's maybe a boring thing to talk about, but his blocking is so clever. And so they're taking off on the ferry, they're all talking, they're all looking at him. Everybody in this shot is wearing blue and gray and red. They are the representatives of the town. He's wearing brown, which makes him look out of place here. And they're all kind of, gray, blue, brown. Well, he's got brown pants. But anyway, fun fact, this guy, no, is it this guy? I'm not 100% certain. I'm not going to say that because I'm not certain. But this is all one take. It's really hard to just, scrub. But, you've got the guy running the ferry over here, and you have these guys talking about him. This is the coroner guy who's like, oh, I said for sure it was a shark, but actually I don't believe that. And then the mayor, separates him and is like, look, let me talk to you about this. I want you to think about it. We have to do this. And they're, basically the inverse of or not the inverse, but they, are matching almost. I kind of love that. And yeah, and he just looks so out of place. He, does not match the town. But this is all one take. This is still the same shot as this. And the camera's not really moving a whole lot. And maybe that's why we, don't notice that it's a oneer, and what's happening and what's making the shot interesting is the stuff happening here. And these guys are also, I mean, they're moving on the ferry, right? But like within the shot, they're not moving as much. Though I love this. Like, we have so many compositions here. We have him on the ferry with the car, and then everybody on the ferry with the car, and then it's just him and the mayor talking. And this is all the same thing, all the same shot. I love it. And then there's another one that I really love too, where another scene where they're talking to the mayor, where they're in front of the poster. Wait, that's not gonna get me what I want. Jaws Amity sign. I can't spell sign. Here we go. Okay. So this is another one that I love. So if you're watching through here, this is okay. This shot, I only noticed that it was a one take, like recently, because my next video that I'm working on is going to be basically me talking about what I love about the filmmaking of Jaws. So basically what I'm talking about today. And so I was watching it and like pausing it and taking notes, and then watching some more, pausing it, taking more notes. So, and I only noticed it watching it that way. So I love this one because the blocking is super clever, and they just like keep moving a lot of the time, which I don't know. I think that's really interesting. You know, he's worried about the ocean. He's like, you've got me to back you up. They're both confronting the mayor. He seems so like, like, come on. And then, okay, now the composition has changed. He switched over to Brody, backing him up, literally. You know, they're talking about the shark, you know, that's all they're always talking about. And then he comes back, so the camera moves over. I don't remember exactly what they're saying here, but, you know, they're just talking about the shark. And then we get another composition here. Anyway, I'm obsessed with blocking. Oh, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Yeah, I love that there's compositions. And then we're not done. Okay, we've got another set, and we're moving the camera over so that we can see the sign. This is all still the same shot. There's so much happening here, so much movement of the characters. There's so much like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I love this frame here where we have like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. So we start with the sign big in the background. You know, we're seeing this shark, and he's like, yeah, that's about how big the shark would be. That's accurate. And then we get another composition here. And then we cut here. This whole 2 minutes is all the same. How long are we? 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then we come back down again. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I love this. I love this shot. Oh, and then there's one more. Sorry. Hold on. Let me search this in case there's something weird. Brody leaving. Oh, here's another kind of little one. I'm just watching through this ad. Also, this scene, I love, I adore this scene. It's not a winner, but we'll come back to this. This is all kind of one take. It's not a super long one. Again, it's very subtle. Okay, so we see her go to the door. This is a cut. Okay, this is one. So she goes to the door. Matt Hooper's at the door, and he's like, "Hey, can I come in?" I guess it's actually got the captions in here. Um, but this is all. This one is not as much movement, but still, I think part of it is because Steven Spielberg really likes to have his actors improvise, and so this kind of feels more like when he shoots stuff like this, like a stage play almost. Because, like, this is still the same take. We're still in the same shot. We've had one setup, where we're looking at the door, and now we're we're seeing all these guys. We're seeing, Brody's emotions as he's kind of exhausted from the day. And he's trying to do the small talk thing. And then I love that this is also still part of the same shot. He's like opening it, and then we cut. But yeah, that's like like 2 minutes of a shot, and it's not super flashy. There's not a ton of movement happening, but it's still cool. Okay, one more, and then I'm done talking about this very specific thing. I don't know if it's here. Yeah, and then there are movies where you're like, I know you didn't plan this action scene because you're cutting every 3 seconds. Jaws, Orca, leaving. There was one I only noticed because I was like, why did they pick this take? Ellen's like head scarf like comes up behind her head. Again, things you only notice when you're watching the movie a million times. What is it? Where is it? Maybe it's not here, but basically the shot is like when Brody's about to leave, he's saying goodbye to Ellen. And it like follows them as she like says goodbye. She's like, "Do you have everything?" Anyway. Yeah. There's just so much good stuff in this movie. Like the shark and I think it's so one of the documentaries I watched for sorry. I didn't mean to hit that. One of the documentaries I watched for my video that I published today about the making of Jaws, one of the producers basically said every single shot of the shark in the movie was like the only usable footage of the shark. That's what ended up in the movie. And I think that's very funny because like I just can't imagine how frustrating it was to be filming this movie and trying to get the shark to work and just being like, I can picture in my head what this movie will look like, but unfortunately the elements are against me. And like, to be fair, what they ended up with is pretty spectacular. Like, this is great. This whole sequence at the end is fantastic. And I think the shark not being there really just does lend a lot more fear because you can imagine what it's like. It's not like, I don't know, there's so much more scary about the unknown than there is about, like, once you know something, it's immediately less scary. Like in the Predator movie, when he says, like, if it bleeds, we can kill it, like, and that's the first feeling of hope they've had for a long time, because it's basically this like phantom almost to them, because the predator's invisible and like they're not sure what to do, but they see the blood and they're like, oh, this is not like a ghost or a phantom. It's a creature that we can contend with. Look at it bleeding, you know. And not that it, what is my hair doing? Anyway, it does make it a little less scary, but that's still, I don't know, helpful. um, but yeah, I love that you don't really see the shark, and a lot of the heavy lifting is done by the underwater camera work, where you're kind of being the shark, and then also the music helps a lot too. You know, there's the iconic like dun 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 dun, you know, and like that immediately, it's so simple, but it works so well. And I love that John Williams won an Oscar for it, because it feels very well deserved, because I think it's one of his most iconic scores. I mean, he has other ones too. You know, of course, like Indiana Jones and the Harry Potter music and Jurassic Park, and, you know, the list goes on. But I think Jaws is just so simple and so memorable, and, you know, it's kind of made a life of its own beyond just Jaws. Like, you hear that music cue and you know exactly, you know, you immediately think shark. And that's just how it is and how it will be for, I mean, it's been that way for 50 years. Who's to say that it won't be forever after this, you know? Um, so I love that. I love this shot so much. It's like, hey, hello, I'm here. I don't have anything to say about it other than that. So fun fact about this, maybe not so fun fact. This is a real shark. They caught a shark in Florida, and they, I don't know if mailed it is the right word, but they transported it from there to Martha's Vineyard, where they were filming in the Northeast. And I guess, you know, because they're filming over a few days, filming just takes a while, and that's just how it is. Apparently, it smelled so awful. And there are pictures, I wonder where they are. Anyway, I wonder if I have it in my book. I have one of my books here, where they're like putting makeup on the shark. This shark, which is so funny to me, like this dead shark. Oh, I might have it actually. Oh, just kidding. But yeah, I just think it's kind of crazy. And this shark, so they called the other sharks, like the mechanical ones, Bruce, which is why the shark in Finding Nemo was named Bruce after that Bruce. And then this shark they called Oscar. And I don't remember why, but supposedly Bruce is named after Steven Spielberg's lawyer. So that's kind of funny. I swear there was a picture of them putting makeup on the shark, but I could be misremembering. Anyway, here's a picture of the shark from my book. I love this book. If you're interested at all in the making of Jaws, this is so fun. The on location on Martha's Vineyard. Like this one, like this caption is so funny. It like is slowly falling down. But anyway, yeah, it sounds like it was a crazy, crazy production. Um, Even Steven Spielberg in one of the documentaries I watched talked about how he was like, this was just the crazy, like the hardest movie I've ever been on, which I get. I want to talk about Quint a little bit. I think he is such a fascinating character, and I think he's probably the most memorable, besides the shark, of course. The shark is, you know, your main character and the one that everybody remembers. But he's probably the, and the second most memorable, and I think it's all to do. I mean, part of it is his performance too, but also that monologue that he does about the Indianapolis is just phenomenal. And I guess apparently he helped write some of it. I guess he was a writer, maybe not so much for like screenplays, but just like he wrote like novels and stuff. So that doesn't surprise me that he contributed to it some. But it used to be much, much longer, and what we see is a cut down version of it. And I guess people before that didn't really know about the Indianapolis story, and so it kind of brought it to a bigger audience, I guess. And so more people knew what it was. And so I think that's really interesting because it is a real thing that happened. So I think that's really cool. I also, I've watched this scene, however many times I've seen the movie, and every time I watch for like, was that shark drawing there when the scene starts? No. So just the idea, and I just hadn't put two and two together that he was the one that drew this, but I think that's so funny that everybody's like talking about the shark problem, and he's just in the back, like in the back of the class, like, okay, I'm gonna draw the shark and someone being eaten because I want people to know how serious this problem is. Anyway, it's just so funny because he's like such a serious character, but like our introduction to him, and like to the point where our introduction to him is him scratching on the chalkboard, but he's also trying to draw this cartoon version of this shark. I don't know. It's just funny. It's funny to me. Also, this, I was thinking about it today. I was like, what part of this movie is the creepiest to me? And I think this shot. So this is the scene where, the shark. Everybody's at the beach. Yeah, he is a serious guy though. Like he takes his job really seriously and like is like really serious about catching the shark. I think this shot might be the one that freaks me out the most because the shark, and it's kind of funny in motion too because the shark's like not even moving his mouth. He's just kind of scooting, but just like seeing the shark under the water and not like out of the water seems in my head more realistic because that's how sharks are. But since this movie came out, we have learned that many great white sharks will, like, how they hunt is they'll, come up like, the Jaws poster like this, but jump out of the water and grab something, which does not happen in this movie ever, I don't think. But, like this shot just, ooh. And I'm not even, like, really afraid of sharks. I really like sharks. I don't think they're that scary. I mean, you're more likely to die in a car crash than by being eaten by a shark, just statistically. But yeah, I think it's kind of amazing that they were able to get this shark to work. Oh, I wanted to talk about the day for night scenes. So I'm pretty sure this scene, day for night basically means that, you shoot something during the day and then color it afterwards to make it look like nighttime. I think one of the most recent examples I can think of is the scene in Mad Max Fury Road where it's nighttime. They shot that during the day and then recolored it to make it look like nighttime. And it just has a different feel to it than actually shooting at night. I feel like a lot of movies now, I wish they would do that more often because you can see what's going on more because they're just so dark in some cases. So anyway, I'm pretty sure this scene at the beginning was shot day for night, as well as the scene where like the pier breaks off and the guys are like using their turkey to try and bring the shark out like into shore, which I guess worked. They were successful in bringing the shark to shore, but they didn't catch the shark. On this shot in particular, wait, where is it? Where, like, She's just swimming. Nothing crazy has happened yet. But just, I love how, like, glittery it is. It's just so beautiful. It makes you want to go to the beach. But, you know, you've also got the... And so you're like, oh, something's up. Something's scary. Oh, and this scene. This is another one. Before we go to the interior. I'm pretty sure this is an exterior before the Indianapolis monologue, if I'm remembering correctly. So anyway, there's a lot of that. But yeah, there's so much of this movie that really works, and this scene is definitely one of them, where they're all like, you know, a little drunk and have just eaten, and they're... Oh, in the book, okay, I've been talking about the book a little bit. Instead of just like staying out on the ocean, every night they go home. Which just seems so crazy to me. Like, every night they're like, okay, it's getting dark, let's go home. Which seems to just like, again, the tension that was built just like drops. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. And this monologue is also not in the book at all. I do like Quint in the book a little bit because he just seems so much sassier than he is in the movie. In the movie, he's very serious and like kind of demands to be taken seriously, but in the book he just like says exactly what he's thinking all the time, and sometimes it's very funny. So Quint is my favorite character in the book because I just think he's kind of funny. Everybody else is kind of awful. But yeah, this monologue is performed great, it's written great, it just, yeah, it's a huge reason I think why people love this movie. And I mean, it can't just be me. It seems like people are talking about that scene a lot. So I have a bunch of pictures from the behind the scenes because I've done this like deep dive into the behind the scenes, and I figured I'd talk about some of them since I have them here. This is the first day of shooting. Fun fact. They started with the scene where Brody is interviewing the young man who was on the beach when Chrissy gets eaten by the shark. And that seems like a good day one shooting deal when you're, you know, on a film set. You want your first day to go well. I've been on shoots where the first day is an absolute mess. But, you know, it got better. But, you know, the first day is always tricky because the crew's getting used to each other and, like, the director's feeling out the actors and they're learning how to work with each other. And this is, like, pretty low stakes scene. So the fact that they have this is a dolly, by the way. Or no, it's a cart. That's fascinating. So they have this cart on here, and then on tracks. I can't imagine bringing big lights like this. This is a grip. He's got gloves. And they started shooting in May, and it was still cold. That's why all these people here are still wearing jackets, because it's cold outside. I don't know who this man is, and I would love to know, but I just think this picture, I don't have anything specific to say about this picture other than I just kind of love that. I can't imagine having these huge cameras that you have to, like, you know, put on a tripod on a boat. Like, I can't imagine DPing on this. It just would be crazy to have, you know, try and shoot stuff on the water from another boat. I don't know. That just sounds like a mess. And then here's the famous dolly. This is exactly what I was saying. It's on a cart. It's moving backwards. And then they, you know, rack the focus. You know, they zoom in as it's moving out. That's why it feels so, like, unnatural. And he's, like, describing probably, hey, so as it's moving out, look scared of the shark. Here's some more early stuff. You can see they're all still wearing jackets. This is some of the town. It looks like it was raining because they've covered the camera with a little bag. That's really fun. More beach stuff. Yeah, I don't have anything to say about some of these specifically. This feels like not centered. I'm gonna move this over. Anyway, I just love seeing this, like, really young Steven Spielberg in all of these. just because, I don't know, I think of him as, the salt and peppered haired with a little bit of a, does he have a beard or a goatee? Anyway, like, he just looks so different now. Here's some more that, look at how far back this track goes. Oh my gosh. More for the dolly zoom. I'm sure this is for the same shot. But yeah, I guess because of the sand, they had to put wooden panels on here. That's kind of wild. And look at these big lights. I wish people knew how to lit movies these days. My goodness. It's daytime. The sun is out. But they still have these giant lights to make it look good. Anyway. This is the author, Peter Benchley. He plays the guy, the reporter. I don't think this ended up in the movie of him talking to Hooper, if I remember right. I love this kind of handheld deal. I imagine they were trying to replicate like a newscast. I could see them doing that here. Because it feels, having it on on your shoulder is more similar to what like a newscast would actually look like. But I kind of love that. But yeah, I don't think that made it into the movie. Here he is again, just talking to Steven Spielberg in one of the books I was reading. It was funny hearing them. I'm reading it. I'm not hearing them say anything. Reading about the day that he was supposed to come. I guess there had been some drama where there was a quote from Steven Spielberg that had come out where he said that all of the characters in the book were selfish, which, hey, I kind of agree with, or like they were all kind of jerks, which I don't disagree. But that's not really something you should be saying about a book you're adapting. So anyway, but they became cordial later, I guess. This picture kind of makes me laugh. Look at his teeth. They're so messed up. Again, filming in the water. Look at them in their wetsuits in the water. I have no clue what shot this is supposed to be. Maybe some of the beach stuff. Because they're in the water facing the land, I'm assuming. Because they're not that deep. And then, so the shark, was this complicated mechanical mess, it looks like to me. I'm sure it made sense to the people making it. But I love this kind of rotating. Oh my gosh! I didn't know. I haven't seen this picture up this big, but you can. Well, it's kind of hard to see because I made it small for you guys. But look at this. There's some lights back there. I wonder what perspective we're seeing this from. Because there's camera crew over here. Because, that's, one of those big lights from the beach. That's so fun. I had not looked at that picture. Yeah, and they'd have him out on this big platform thing that they would lower into the water. I'm not sure how it all works together, but it just seems crazy, this whole deal. And I guess up until then, no movies had really been filmed out on the ocean before, and that was just super interesting to me that because Steven Spielberg was like, I want to make it real. I want to make it, like this. They were like, okay, let's do it. And because the book was doing so well, they kind of let him do it. I love this picture. It kind of shows how big the shark actually was. And maybe the shark is closer to us. But it does make him look very small. I love this crew member here just kind of watching hey, cool. Apparently there was a lot of that where they were just hanging out and waiting. Look at his teeth. They're so messed up. I guess, so some of the sharks were more for swimming. So there were 3 mechanical sharks. There was, from what I read, one that had squishy teeth so that they didn't actually hurt anybody when he would eat stuff. And then another one that was good at turning or something. Anyway, but there was 3 of them. Generally only one would work at once. Also, this is crazy. Oh, this is probably when he's getting on to jump on the back of the boat. But look at all this. This is to control the shark. So they had to have the boat and the camera and the shark equipment. You know, it just seems like what a pain to get all that going and moving. Look at him touching up the shark. Yeah, and then all the crew would hang out on the boats because they don't want them on the ship. I mean, they are right now because they're getting ready for their next take, but they don't. For the shots, they don't want to be on the boat too, so they had to have boats for the crew to hang out on. And anyway, what an ordeal. I love this shot too. I cannot place in my head what this is from, like this shot. But it's funny. Another fun fact about Steven Spielberg is he really likes to operate his own cameras. I've noticed in a lot of the behind the scenes stuff I've seen of him. Like in Jurassic Park, he's operating the camera a lot of the time. Which is not normally how that works. Normally you have the director of photography isn't even usually running the camera. That's the first AC maybe? Anyway, I think it's first AC runs the camera and second does the focus. Because, when you're here, you're not. It's really hard to do focus, too. So, anyway. Yeah, I wonder what this is connected to. Something. Anyway, that's fun. Look at him operating camera again. Or at least talking to his DP. This might be his DP. I don't remember what he looks like. I love this picture. So, this is... I betcha, I haven't even really thought about this. This woman back here is the scriptie. So the scriptie is basically like the person who takes notes of all the things you're filming as you're filming them. So generally, and this is going to sound crazy, maybe not crazy, but most positions on a film set are gendered. And generally, the scriptie or the script supervisor, is a woman. Like, that's just how it's been. It's not always that way, obviously, but that has happened. So that wouldn't surprise me because she has like a stopwatch, I guess, to keep track of notes, like how long takes are and like what's in the takes. And then she has a ton of notepads and stuff. You can tell who the scriptie is with their notes. And she might also just be like a production manager or something. But this over here is Verna Fields. She's the editor of the film. She won an Oscar for her work on this movie, and I love her like showing, I don't know, something to them. And here she is again. I think she's really cool. Because I think Jaws is edited very, very well. And she and Steven Spielberg had worked together on his movie, The Sugarland Express, before this. So that's how they met. And John Williams also worked with Steven Spielberg on that movie before they got to Jaws. Oh, here she is again, looking at more film stuff. And I guess, so normally film editors won't really... I mean, they'll work on stuff, I guess, but they're not really doing editing until the production is over. But she was very much like, I want to be where they're filming and start editing as soon as I can. And so she was in Martha's Vineyard editing stuff. And by the time they had finished, like, principal photography, I guess she had edited most of the first, like, third of the movie. She'd just been busy. I don't know if this is John Williams directing the Jaws score, but he's definitely younger here. This is Joe Alves. He was the art director or production, I don't know. He was in the art team. He also found the location of Martha's Vineyard and, was, as you can tell, in charge of some of the shark stuff. And he's, I guess, worked with Steven Spielberg a lot since then. Like, he did Close Encounters, I think, with him. Here he is again. I don't know who this is. And then these are the producers. Zanuck and Brown. I think this is Brown and Zanuck. They also owned a production company that directed stuff like The Sting, and they were also the director or the producers of Sugarland Express, and that's how they knew Steven Spielberg. So thankful for them, because without them, Steven Spielberg would not have the career he does today, because they took a chance on him. I love this picture. It just seems so like joyful, and like these poor guys trying to get the shark to work, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm here." Oh, here's more John Williams. These are so all over the place. And more John Williams. Okay. So that's all my pictures. But yeah, I love Jaws. I think it is the best shark movie and one of the best movies just ever. I don't know. It just is so well put together, and I love that it has a shark in it. It makes me happy that there's a shark movie that exists that's a good one, because I could see, like, if Steven Spielberg had never directed Jaws, like any movie about a shark, and I mean, they're all kind of copying Jaws to some degree, but none of them are as good. They're not as good. And, yeah, I love just this movie. I think it's my favorite Steven Spielberg, but I'm a little biased because I like sharks, and I don't know. I love this movie. I think it's worth watching and rewatching, because, I mean, I've seen it a lot, but there's always something I notice. Every time, something new. There's just so much great detail, and the characters, and the camera. It's just so well put together, and it's amazing that it turned out so well, considering how crazy the production was. And I would love to dive into more movies like this that have a crazy production that actually turned out okay, but I think this might be the most famous of those, because it's kind of notorious for how crazy the production was, and then, you know, the movie was huge successful when it came out, and people are still talking about it now. And it, you know, it still feels relevant. It has this kind of ageless quality to it. I mean, it definitely feels of the time in some ways, but also, like, the themes are not about any specific era. It's like those kind of, you know, like adventure and coming to face your fears, and anyway, there's just a lot to it that's kind of eternal almost, and like will never get old, I think. So anyway, I love Jaws. I think I might go watch it after this. I haven't watched my new 4K that I bought. That's over here. There. And I can't wait to see what it looks like. I mean, it's already a great looking movie. So I bet the 4K is pretty incredible. And I think there's some new, like, bonus features on there, because this is the 50th anniversary, like, special steelbook. So anyway, I will have another video coming out hopefully on the 4th, so 2 weeks from today, about the filmmaking stuff that I love that's in Jaws. So it'll be more of what I talked about today, but in more detail and with clips instead of me just kind of trying to find them. And then tomorrow I'm going to be starting this Lego set over here. I'm very excited. I have had it for a while, but I've just not gotten around to it. And the weekend of the Jaws 50th anniversary seems like no better time to get started on it. I'm not planning on trying to finish it tomorrow, because I'm a slow Lego builder, and so I know it's going to take me a while. So anyway, I'm excited to start working on it. I think that will be fun. And, yeah. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening and a great weekend. Yeah, I love Jaws. I know no better way to end this stream. So thank you for watching, and I will catch you all tomorrow with some Legos. So have a good night. Bye.